The third episode of Ginny and Georgia Season 3 kicks off with Ginny's reflective voiceover about feeling like she missed the day when everyone learned how to exist properly in the world. As she grapples with her mother's legal troubles, Ginny admits she always wanted to fit in and be a normal girl, but that dream has gone to shit now that her mom is facing murder charges. This somber opening perfectly sets up an episode filled with emotional turmoil, complicated relationships, and the desperate search for normalcy in the chaos of the Millers' lives. At school, Max, Ginny, and their friends discuss the upcoming dance called Tulips and Tuxes. Despite the event being held in their school gym rather than at a fancy venue like prom, Max is enthusiastic while Ginny initially shows no interest in attending. Meanwhile, Georgia is struggling with the limitations of her house arrest, feeling trapped and restless. When her neighbor Ellen visits with a house arrest survival kit, Georgia confesses she's literally watching paint dry at a neighbor's house to pass the time. Their conversation reveals Ellen's compassion and understanding, showing she's supporting Georgia without judgment about whether she actually killed Tom Fuller. Lynette, Zion's mother and Ginny's grandmother, continues her stay with the family and creates tension with Georgia. Their dynamic is complex. Lynette is simultaneously helpful, doing laundry, grocery shopping, and invasive, asking about Georgia's will and what would happen to the kids if she's convicted. This prompts Georgia to snap, "I'm not going anywhere," though her anxiety about potentially going to prison is evident. The fear of separation from her children weighs heavily on her throughout the episode. In a particularly poignant moment, Lynette convinces Ginny to attend the school dance and even takes her dress shopping along with Simone, Zion's new girlfriend. Georgia, unable to join them because of her ankle monitor, feels left out of this important mother-daughter experience. When Lynette and Ginny return from shopping with a beautiful dress that Simone picked out, Georgia's jealousy and sadness are palpable, though she tries to be supportive. This reflects Georgia's growing realization that her children might be okay without her, a thought that simultaneously reassures and terrifies her. The episode dives into teen dynamics as Maxine deals with drama surrounding the school musical cast list. She discovers Sophie, her ex-crush, has obtained a lead role, which Maxine interprets as deliberate. Meanwhile, Abby's storyline takes a dark turn when Ginny catches her throwing up in the bathroom at Brody's house. Rather than confronting her directly, Ginny simply says, "I get it," showing her awareness of Abby's eating disorder. This brief but powerful exchange highlights both Ginny's empathy and Abby's struggle with body image. Marcus and Ginny's relationship remains complicated, as they insist they're just friends, despite their obvious feelings for each other. Their tension-filled conversations showcase their struggle to define their relationship, while Marcus deals with his depression. When Maxine catches them almost cuddling on Marcus's bed, she expresses concern rather than anger, showing her growth and understanding of her brother's mental health issues. Maxine later convinces Marcus to attend the dance, not for himself but for their mother Ellen, who's chaperoning and worried about him. Meanwhile, Georgia's lawyer Josh Finn continues prepping her defense, suggesting they could create reasonable doubt by implicating Cynthia Fuller. Georgia adamantly refuses this strategy, unwilling to hurt Cynthia despite her own freedom being at stake. This moral stance reveals Georgia's complexity. She's capable of mercy killing Tom but draws the line at falsely accusing Cynthia. During this meeting, Josh reveals he knows about Joe and Gil visiting Georgia the night of Tom's death, catching Georgia in a lie about her whereabouts. This raises questions about what Georgia is still hiding, and whether her lawyer has the full story. The relationship between Georgia and Paul faces challenges as Georgia's restlessness manifests in increasingly erratic behavior. When Paul returns home exhausted from dealing with public scrutiny about his wife's murder charges, Georgia presses him to check on their neighbor's shirt choice for a date. Paul finally erupts, expressing how difficult things are for him and the children outside the house while Georgia focuses on trivial matters. His impassioned speech about feeling like Georgia's husband, rather than himself, shows the strain her situation places on their marriage. However, their honest conversation leads to a tender moment of understanding, reinforcing their commitment to each other. In a surprising twist, Paul's campaign manager Nick attempts to quit due to Georgia's legal troubles. Paul not only refuses to accept his resignation, but reveals he knows about Georgia's embezzlement from his office, and demands to know what else Nick knows about his wife. This scene showcases Paul's unwavering loyalty to Georgia despite knowing some of her criminal history, a loyalty that may be tested as more truths emerge. The Tulips and Tuxes dance becomes the centerpiece of the episode's climax. Despite initial reluctance, several characters attend the dance for different reasons. Ginny goes after being convinced by Lynette, Abby drinks before attending with Nora, and Marcus shows up unexpectedly. The gym is transformed beautifully, impressing everyone who thought the dance would be underwhelming. During an emotional moment at the dance, Ginny calls Georgia to tell her she loves her and needs her there for every dance, begging her not to go away. Georgia promises she's not going anywhere, a promise that feels both reassuring and potentially impossible to keep given her legal situation. One of the most heartbreaking scenes occurs in the bathroom at the dance when a drunk Abby confronts her mother Nancy. In an emotionally charged outburst, Abby accuses Nancy of falling apart after her father left. "You crumbled into a million pieces and it wasn't fair. I missed you. I really needed you." This raw confession reveals the root of Abby's issues, feeling abandoned by both parents when she needed them most. Nancy's defensive response, "Don't you talk to me like that, Abigail. I am your mother," only prompts Abby to retort, "Yeah, well, you don't act like it." This devastating exchange leaves Abby sobbing in Nora's arms, finally releasing her pent-up pain. The episode ends with Georgia and Paul alone at home, processing the day's events. When Paul returns from a confrontation with Nick, Georgia asks what he wanted. Paul simply responds nothing, choosing not to burden Georgia with additional stress. As Ginny's voiceover returns, she reflects on how knowing what really matters makes you realize how easily it could all be ripped away. An ominous statement that foreshadows potential challenges for the Miller family going forward. I Just Wanna by Callie plays over the closing scenes, underscoring the longing and regret felt by multiple characters as they navigate their complicated relationships. The episode perfectly balances teenage angst with adult struggles, showing how Georgia's legal situation affects not just her but everyone in her orbit. As the dance continues and Georgia remains trapped at home by her ankle monitor, the physical separation symbolizes the emotional distance growing between her and those she loves most, a distance she's desperately trying to bridge before it's too late.